guys, Crystal Thompson here for Color Combos with Crystal. Today I'm using an oldie but a goodie stamps, and I'm telling you why. I wanted a really large stamp set, so I'm using Unity Stamp Company's Start of Something New. This is December 2017 kit a month. You can still get this as an individual stamp set. It's a huge kit. We are also going to be using for the sentiment, I have so much of you in my heart. Again, this is beautiful red rubber, and look at the size so you can see comparably how large this stamp set is. For our color combos, we are using the following colors. These are Stampin' Up! Pads, but you can use whatever color you like. I am using Pumpkin Pie, Chocolate Chip, Daffodil Delight, and Pool Party, which is a really light blue turquoisey color. Be sure to use some dye inks when you do this technique. We're also going to be using a piece of Neenah cardstock. This is 110 pound. And then we have the beautiful Pool Party, and this is for the sentiment. So let's get started. All right, guys, so I have my stamp on my MISTI or stamp positioner, whichever you prefer to use, and I have a piece of watercolor cardstock. This is bought at Hobby Lobby, but you can use whatever color cardstock you want. I'm going to start by stamping the chocolate, and this is just a very nice dark brown ink, and you can do this with dye ink or archival ink, whichever you have or prefer. So I have my image, and the reason I did it on the MISTI is because when you're using watercolor cardstock, it has all that texture, and it could be a bit difficult to get a clean stamp image on the first time. So that is why we are using this. Oh, I think we're going to do it one more time. I'm having a bit of trouble with this centerpiece. We're going to do it one more time. All right, guys, so I have my image nice and dry, and then I have my piece of acrylic. So let me tell you about this. This is a piece of acetate that you usually use for shaker cards. So what we're doing here, I have stamped my ink pads onto it, and we're going to be using that as our colors for our watercoloring. I have my watercolor brush and my palette with some water, and I like to add water to my different palette wells, and that way I can grab the color. We are going to begin by getting our brush a little bit moist, and we're going to grab some of this Pool Party, and what we're going to begin is we're actually just going to go around adding some of this Pool Party. This is dye ink, so what's going to happen with this stamping, it's going to kind of rub off that color. As you can see, it's kind of grabbing it. So to avoid that, you can press on and then clean your brush, or actually what I'm going to do, the reason I didn't use archival ink, which is not water-based and it does not, it's not affected by water, is because I want to have a bit of a grungy look, kind of a farmhouse, and just have those colors mixing just a little bit. With this being watercolor paper, it's going to absorb the color, and I'm just going to continue layering these colors with my larger brush. You do want to use a larger brush when doing this outer wash of that Pool Party. It turned into a really pretty turquoisey brown. It's quite pretty. While that dries, we're going to move on to different colors. So I have my water brush. We're going to grab some of this orange, and then we're going to start coloring. So we're just going to bring that color starting with our shadows. And when you're doing watercolor, to make that really pretty effect, you want to add your first wash, and in this case it's my shadows, and then I'm going to press the brush or clean it off, and then just come in and add water, and that way you grab that color of the shadow, and it creates this beautiful watercolor effect. So I'm going to go ahead and color everything. All right, guys, so this is nicely watercolored look. We just used the ink colors that I had showed you earlier, and it turns out to be super pretty. All right, we're going to move some of this stuff to the side, and we're going to begin assembling our card. So we're going to get that off to the side. So what we're going to do, we're going to tear off the edges, and the reason why is that I wanted to look, like I said, kind of vintagey. We're going to be using watercolor paper, so what's going to happen is this is a little tougher to tear, so you want to follow your tear along using your other hand to really guide and line where you want that tear. We're gonna follow up on the other side. And depending on the size of a card you're making, be sure to measure it out on how far you want it to go. So we're gonna tear up the other side, and we're gonna do all 4 edges. Be sure that your watercolor paper is completely dry, or it does make it a little more difficult to tear this up. So I got a little of a snag there just because it's still a bit moist, but we're just gonna continue to follow that. And then we're gonna come down and do the other side. So just follow it along, like I said, and that way you don't end up with some really weird shape. And there we go. Like I said, it's quite difficult when the cardstock is still a bit wet, or the watercolor paper is a bit wet. So, ta-da! We got it. I think that was a workout all within itself. All right, so we are going to place this right on top of that, and we are going to be using some foam adhesive. I like to use this roll that I got on Amazon. I'll be placing the links below to all the products except for the Stampin' Up! Inks, just because I don't know any Stampin' Up! Reps, or actually I do, but you can use any dye inks for watercoloring with ink. So just, you probably have some in your stash as dye ink. I think that's one of the most popular ink types. So we're going to remove the backing off of that. And then we're going to place it on our card base. And let me tell you about this. I like to just really do this. Is really, really pretty. Okay. Now we're going to stamp our sentiment. And we're going to use the chocolate chip. And we have the sentiment right here, ready to go. So we're just going to go ahead and stamp. Okay, and then we're going to trim that. All right, guys, so I have my sentiment stamped and pre-cut. So now we're going to go ahead and place it on our card. So we come in, and you can find what best fits for you. I'm just going to kind of put it down here, since that was the flower that got the most water. All right, so we have that done, and you can see how this blue and this blue doesn't match, even though that's the same kind of blue. So I have a little bit of water over here to the side, and I'm going to dab on my stamping. And the reason why is this is also the same chocolate chip dye ink. So this is just going to give it a nice little vintage effect. And we are done. Thank you so much for joining me today. Hope you enjoyed this quick tutorial. Color combos with Crystal. Be sure to click subscribe if you haven't yet. Thank you so much for your support. Have an awesome day.